Well, good morning, everyone. Oh, wow, the mic works. That's wonderful. So as Reverend Bonnie has said, today, this month, our theme is healing through gratitude. And as I was watching Reverend Bonnie and Reverend Bram in the last couple of weeks, they talked about healing and they talked about gratitude. And it was like, I noticed it was healing, healing everything. It's like Reverend Bonnie talked about healing your past, healing your present, healing your future, and all the different things that you're grateful for. And I was thinking in terms of religious science. When you have a science, you have a general principle, and then you apply it to specific cases. And I was thinking, how would we use this principle of healing through gratitude to specific cases? So many of us have gratitude lists. We write down all the different things we're grateful for. And I thought, how do we get them to be more specific? And if you look in your brochures, and I thought I brought them up here too, you'll see a couple of index cards. Yeah. Okay, just as a prop, a couple of index cards. And if you don't have one, there's more brochures in back. You can get at the end. You don't have to, look for them now. You can, as Ernest Holmes once said, you can procure them in the back at the end. And the idea I had was this. It's nice to have a list and to look at the list and the whole list, but it's also nice, I think, for each item on the list, and you're not going to be using them now, these are to take home, for each item on the list to put that item on an index card. What is it that I'm grateful for? And maybe in big letters on the back or big letters at the top. And then underneath, why? What is it that this thing does for me? What does it enable me to do? How does it add to the happiness in my life? So that then you have these cards and you can look at them throughout the day. Instead of having this one list of all things that you sort of go through in order, you can pull one out at random and say, oh yeah, I'm grateful about that, and here's why. Just at various times in the day. And the nice thing about cards, and you might want to, when you get home, instead of having the big ones, I like the big ones because you can write more on them, but have small, 3x5s, and that way you can take them along with you throughout your day and just pull one out at random and say, oh yeah, I'm grateful for that. The nice thing about having a deck of index cards is also, if you think of something else you're grateful for, you don't have to make a whole new list or just add it at the bottom if that's not where you want it to go. You can just make another card, add it to the deck, add it to the stack. In addition to taking them with you, you can also put different cards in different rooms so that when you're in the kitchen, here's the things I'm grateful for. When you're in the bedroom, here are the things I'm grateful for. Put one on your closet or something. And just play with them. Work with them and play with them so that it's not just a single list. Now there are 2 cards, hopefully. The other one is to remind you that this is healing through gratitude. So another deck or another stack of cards, things in your life that you want to be healed. Now this is a healing deck. It's not a complaint deck. It's not a grumble deck. It's all right. This is something that isn't working quite the way I want it to in my life. And again, a couple of lines about here's why, and that way you'll have your healing deck as well. And the really cool thing about having both of these is that you can then match them up. You can spread them out on a table or on a desk or on the floor and just spread them all out and sort of look at all of them in some random arrangement and then put them together. Okay, here's something in my life that's, let's say, my computer's not working the way I want it to, so that's a healing deck. I want my computer to be healed. Well, what are all the things in your life that are in your gratitude list, or you can make new cards for, that are about technology that work? Like, I don't know. Yeah, something like a looping thing, yes. So if you have something that doesn't work in technology, what are all the things that in your life that are in the technology realm that do work? And sort of, so that now when you look at that one card, you have all these others that remind you, here are all the things I'm grateful for. If there's some health condition that you want healed, well, what are all the things in your physical body that are working good that you're grateful for? And again, put them together so that it's healing and gratitude go together rather than this generic thing, which is good, but to get down to specific cases, which is also good. So when you go home and you start making your decks, let me know how you do. Let me know if this is a practice that works better for you or that has a different way of thinking about things. So that you can, as I say, ponder this one thing that you want to heal and then ponder all these things that you're grateful for. Now, when people make their gratitude lists, I have noticed that they put a lot of similar things on different people's lists. I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my friends, or if you break it down, this friend or that friend. And gosh, I wasn't going to say this. Today would have been my mother's 90th birthday. And talk about filling up a gratitude list. It would be, I could spend the entire time talking about it. I will just say one thing to let it stand in for everything I'm grateful for, and that's pancakes at 1 o'clock in the morning. It sort of lets you know. So people do have similar things on their lists, but I would bet that there is one thing that everybody leaves off their list that really must go on it, and in fact should be at the top of the list. And that is your consciousness of being you. Your awareness as yourself, as a unique individual. Because without that, nothing else goes on the list. You can't say, I'm grateful for something without I. You can't say, this makes me happy without a me to make me happy. So the first thing that should be on a gratitude list is to say, yes, I'm grateful for the opportunity to express God's originality as a unique person. Express God's originality. E-G-O. Really? The forbidden word, the forbidden thing? Ego? That should be on my gratitude list? Yeah, I know I'm swimming against the tide here. Rowing against the current, but I really feel that we have to do that. Because why do we have egos? We have them for the same reason we have laps. It's the way we're built. And to say there's something wrong with that is to say we're built wrong. We're built wrong. That's, I call that notion New Age Calvinism. Because it's saying that there's something basically wrong with our human nature. Human nature is fallen. Human nature is sinful. Human nature has something wrong with it somewhere that is causing all our problems. And you really can't align that with whole, complete, and perfect. You know, you can't say to someone, you're whole, complete, and perfect except for this one thing that is basic to your nature. Now, this kind of thinking does creep into New Thought because it's in our culture. It's been in our culture for centuries, and so it creeps back in. And New Thought teachers have commented on that kind of thinking. Joel Goldsmith says, we say in New Thought that we've eliminated the notion of the devil, but we've just changed its name, in his case, into carnal mind or mortal mind. Emmett Fox has a similar message in one of his books. He says, yes, I know, I'm one of the people who takes their glasses off to read. He says, it happens too often in practice that the student, instead of really getting rid of the conventional belief in the reality of evil, merely changes the name of his devil and goes on recognizing him under some new alias. And he mentions a few: error, mortal mind, hypnotism, climate, heredity, and in our generation, it's ego. That's the new devil. The devil, the ego. We don't talk about my ego, your ego. We talk about the ego does these things, just like the devil. And it has this same evil mission. Its goal in these teachings is to separate us from God, right? Instead of expressing God's originality, they talk about edging God out. How can anything that is a basic part of us have that as a goal? It can't. There comes a point where we see that there is an irreconcilable difference between New Thought teaching and this New Age Calvinism, as I call it. Can't have that function. Well, what function does it have then? You know, if we all have egos and they all must do something for us, what might it be? Well, I'll offer a suggestion, but the main point is that even if that's not its function, even though you think of it as doing something else, it can't be something wrong. Not if we go with whole, complete, and perfect. It just won't work. So here's a suggestion as to what our ego's function might be. Remember that idea of being a unique, individualized center in the consciousness of God that Ernest Holmes speaks about. To be a unique, individualized center in that consciousness without, again, as Ernest Holmes says, without being absorbed in it. To maintain a self-integrity as an individualized self. Think of it in contrast to a raindrop. A raindrop is an individualized center of water. But when it falls into the ocean, it's gone. It's not, you can say it's sort of part of the ocean, but that's not really correct. It's gone. It has no longer maintained its integrity as a single thing. But we do. Even as we're one with the whole, we're individualized centers. You can think of your ego as your spiritual immune system. Just as we have a physical immune system that maintains the integrity of the body, the ego's mission, its job, if you will, is to maintain the integrity of the spirit as an individual while being one with the whole. And just as our physical immune systems can fall out of whack, so that, let's say someone has an allergy because the immune system is getting a wrong message that this benign or even useful thing is harmful, and so it's overprotecting. So when we say our egos are separating us from something, it's because they're being overprotected. They've fallen out of whack. So we have to get them back in whack. We have to heal our egos when that happens. Sometimes the opposite is true. You have some sort of immune deficiency, and something that you should be protected against isn't, and you let into your body. And the same is true again about a possible malfunction of our egos. They're supposed to protect us by maintaining our integrity. It's supposed to protect us from outside thoughts. The new buzzword is memes, that instead of contributing to our spirituality, are harmful to it. They're supposed to protect us from slogans. You see a lot of slogans nowadays, and including in people's teaching. And slogans are not a part of teaching. They're a substitute for it. They're a substitute for learning. They're a substitute for thinking. Whether it's those slogans like edging God out, or one thing I heard is the ego, again, the ego, is suspicious at best and vicious at worst. And it's like, how can that be a part of any New Thought teaching, that anything in the world is just suspicious at best and vicious at, no. It's protective at best and overprotective at worst. And so again, it needs to be healed. Look at all the destructive vocabulary around this idea that somehow we've let in. We have people talking about love and kindness and oneness, and and all that, and then saying, but then the ego must be dissolved, it must be destroyed, it must be subdued, it must be... These are all warlike, destructive words. How do we let them into our teaching? It doesn't fit. As I say, irreconcilable differences. And so, in the final analysis, there's a choice. You can have a choice of saying all these destructive things about the ego, or you can say, again, with Ernest Holmes, in seminar lectures, the ego is not to be rejected. It is to be wanted, needed, and loved. And may I add to that, healed through gratitude. So maybe those first two cards that you have, the ones that I supplied you with, put my ego on both of them. I'm grateful for my ego because it keeps me me. It keeps me from just dissolving into the ether, or whatever other reasons you come up with. And my ego needs to be healed for this reason or that reason. And so that's the choice that is here today. Go with the current, go with the stream, go with all that ego-bashing, New Age Calvinism teaching that's out there now, or go with Ernest Holmes and go with really the core of New Thought. And that's the choice, and so it is.